out on Zoom. So here we go. Oops, I'm sorry, wrong. So sorry. So sorry. There was just a little bit of glitch that we had to do with some switcheroonies around with leading the workshop. So just forgive me. We're going to start right now. So the workshop today, the presenters will share information about the influence of alcohol advertising, its favorable attitudes toward underage and binge drinking, and its consequences, such as driving under the influences and messages about drinking responsibly. It's really important as community members to know that drinking under the age is really detrimental and could cause a lot of risky problems. Kids could get caught up in risky behavior by doing so. So we just wanted to shed light on that and how the advertising industry is not helping in any way, shape, or form with that. So with that, I'm going to go ahead to my next slide here. As you can see here in these slides, these are examples of a very myriad of different advertisements. You can see in the top left-hand corner, we have Mike's Harder liquor. Kids see this and they see that Marvel character and they're going to say, hey, mommy, what's that? I want to try that punch. That looks cool because of the guy on it. So right then and there, a lesson has to be taught to that young kid who sees that Marvel character. Well, why can't I have that? You know, it has my favorite character on it. It looks like it's fun. And then there's this one in the middle with the Heineken saying it's game day, and they put a gaming device there. So you're wondering, who are they trying to market to? And then this one really got me. I found this one. This is an advertisement that was actually in a subway station in New York, a beer ad that's put right next to an advertisement for the Lorax movie. Kids going through the subway station, they're going to see these messages and it's sending a subliminal message that, oh, that's kind of cool. I want to see that movie, and maybe, when I'm there, I could have that cool drink when I'm there. On the bottom left-hand corner, this is actually an ad that was in the window of a 7-Eleven near where I live in Torrance. And it just shows a jersey advertising 7-Eleven off. Kids see that and they think, oh, they say football and they just see the drinks. It doesn't say anything about alcohol or anything. They think it's a fun thing, these messages. The one in the middle, these are advertisements for vodka. You see the bright cheery colors. The one in the middle looks like Fruit Loops. There's cupcakes, ice cream, real fun, cheery colors that really appeal to the youth. And the youth don't really know what these things are. And us as adults really need to educate them and let them know that these are beverages for adults and that you can't have these until you're 21. There is a guideline. And this last one here, this last example is just an ad. A lot of the advertisements for alcohol showcase it as being fun, as having a good time. Are we having Bud Light yet? And granted, yes, we do as adults, we do drink, to celebrate and whatnot, but we need to make sure that we're responsible and let children know that it is for adults, and we do need to be responsible adults when we're drinking and not overdo it. So that's the basic premise that we want to make sure that people know moving forward. So this just is a video that I'm going to show you that kind of just highlights those points that I just raised.
Hey, Tracy. You're Tracy?
Yes.
Oh, you're still on the advertisement in alcohol blue slide?
I am.
Yes.
I moved my slide. It's showing on my end.
Maybe do a brief refreshment of your slide.
Hold on one second. I'm so sorry.
No problem.
Are you seeing it all now? No?
No, not yet. We are still seeing the blue slide with the examples.
Okay, let me stop sharing. Let me share again.
Okay, it's perfect.
What do you think, Sharks? Ultra pure gold.
My apologies. So sorry. A little flustered right now.
You're doing well, Tracy. That was a really thought-provoking video with alcohol justice.
Okay, let me get back to my slides here. Okay, can you see my slides?
Yes.
Oh, it keeps showing up. Sorry. There we go. Okay, so true friends prevent underage drinking and binge drinking. Keep it real. Take action. It's important as community members to take action, to refuse, excuse, avoid, and leave. Meaning that when you're drinking, try not to get carried away. These are images of young people having a good time. That's fine. You can have a good time, but please don't overdo it. These ads, the ad in the middle, weekends were made for whiskey. The one on the right just shows the young people. Of course, they're of age, but they're kind of going overboard with the alcohol. Bud Light saying life is good. And this is just showcasing that maybe life is good because she has a beer in her hand. You don't want to send that message. You want to make sure that this could be an ad that says life is good and she could be roller skating. You know, it could be something different like that. So I just want to share some statistics here. The prevalence of binge drinking, according to the 2019 National Survey of Drug Use and Health, says that approximately 4.2 million people ages 12 to 20 reported binge drinking in the past month. 12, can you imagine young people as young as 20 engaging in binge drinking? That's 10.4% of males aged 12 to 20 and 11.8% of females ages 12 to 20. So we just need to be cognizant and aware of those statistics. So we also had an opportunity to speak with our college interns to get their opinions and their take on what it is like for them as young college students, how they have been affected by alcohol in their lives. So our first interview it's just a audio file of an intern, Chris, who's a senior at Cal State Dominguez Hills. And I'm going to go ahead and play that right now so you can hear what he has to say here. Thank you so much, Chris, for agreeing to be part of our interview today for this Hot Topic Tuesday. And welcome.
Thank you.
So let's go ahead and jump in. I want to find out from you if alcohol advertising has had an influence on you at all.
In a way, yes. I would say that the advertisements they just give us one viewpoint of the whole situation, which would be that they're having fun because they're consuming alcohol. But like we all know that is not the case, just what they want you to think so they can sell you their product or their brand of alcohol. So in a way, yes.
So it kind of like makes it look fun and makes it look like something that you would want to engage in as well, as what you're saying, the way that it's
Yes.
portrayed. In what ways can
Mhm.
alcohol advertising lead to other issues like binge drinking or things like that? How do you think that could happen?
So with the alcohol advertising, it could lead to binge drinking because if the person who's consuming the alcohol is seeking that same outcome that they're advertising, it's like they're gonna continue to be trying to reach that like fun or that one outcome that they're portraying on the advertisement. But that's not reality, basically, because we gotta remember that the advertisements consist of people acting and it's all scripted. So if the person is trying to reach that outcome, they're just gonna continue drinking until they get to that outcome, which becomes binge drinking, but then they're not gonna get the outcome that they want. Instead, they're gonna get the negative outcomes of alcohol drinking, which is like binge drinking, and then it could be alcohol poisoning, and then other like worse stuff.
Worse outcomes.
Worse outcomes, yes.
Have you ever experienced or seen others binge drink or maybe even drive under the influence of alcohol?
So for myself, I've experienced binge drinking a little bit, like when I've gone out to like Angels games or like that's like a hockey game, but I'm not the one driving. But I've stopped drinking. I haven't drank like I think over 2 years already. So that's like I've been alcohol free because I've learned that it's not the best for you. But I have seen that people are driving under the influence. That's one of the things that I would never or have never like experienced, like just doing it myself. I wouldn't experience that because it's not safe for you or the other drivers on the road, and then it could lead to accidents and it could possibly cause like death.
Yeah, so say that you were at an Angels game and you were with your buddies
Mhm.
and you guys have been drinking for a while. What if the buddy that you came with kind of drank a little bit too much and then he was gonna drive? What would you do? How would you?
In that case, I would like not let them drive because that's what we're supposed to do is basically not let them leave because they're intoxicated. And then in reality, you're saving their life and other people's lives that they can when they cause an accident or something. And if you're like, say, you have to, if they can't drive and you can't drive, you have to find someone, like call someone or just wait out like a couple hours. The time shouldn't matter as long as everyone gets safe to their location. So if it takes 3 hours for the person to sober up, or if you're able to get someone to come assist you guys, that's like the best option. There's always Uber or Lyft that can pick you guys up and you'll get home safely, and then you could get the car at a later date and time.
Yeah, thank goodness for Uber and Lyft nowadays, because a lot of people utilize that service for those reasons. And it's a good thing. It's a good safety measure in place. So what effects, if any, have you seen among your peers when it comes to binge drinking?
So one of the most noticeable effects from binge drinking that I've seen amongst my friends is like that they'll drink too much to the point where they black out. They won't remember anything they do after a certain point, or they might pass out. And it's even worse because your body is basically forcing you to pass out, and so you can stop consuming alcohol. So it won't do any further damage to you. another noticeable thing that I've seen among friends is like the common thing is like beer bellies. When the person's drinking too much, they have like their stomach bigger, and it's not just like regular like a fat belly. It's more sticking out, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, beer bellies. I didn't hear what you said. Beer bellies, yes. That is very noticeable. That just shows that they've been consuming for a long time, for
Yeah.
not just one night, but over a period of time.
Mhm.
And do you have any advice for college students relating to drinking? Because a lot of kids start off at college, their freedom, they're free because they're living on their own now. And there's a lot of parties and a lot of different social events on the college campus, in the college life. So what advice would you give to a college student?
The advice I would give is just to be responsible. Don't allow the amount of freedom that you have now to jeopardize any of your health, and you have to be responsible. And let's say if you're at a party, if you're gonna take a drink, I mean, you shouldn't. I would recommend just to stay away from alcohol in general. It's really bad for your health. There's no positive outcomes of drinking alcohol. But like say you do decide to do it, I would say just limit yourself. Don't drink too much. Make sure you take care of your other responsibilities before you decide to. And then prioritize your education and your health before anything else.
Yeah, that's really good sound advice, because you don't want your peers or your friends to jeopardize themselves just to have fun, right?
Yeah.
You want to make sure that you're making good sound choices and being responsible.
Mm-hmm.
So is there any last thoughts that you want to share with the audience in terms of how advertising might affect or influence people, or anything at all to young people?
I would just emphasize how alcohol has no like positive outcome, or drinking of alcohol. Like I would use my uncle as an example. Him consuming a lot of alcohol ruined his life. He had, because of excessive alcohol consumption, he ended up having a lot of problems with law enforcement, with his family, which ended up leading to him being deported. Then that didn't like help him learn his lesson to not like keep drinking. He still kept drinking for I don't know how many years. He ended up getting cirrhosis, so like his liver problems, and then that ended up being like the alcohol consumption is what ended up killing him. So he lost his life due to too much alcohol consumption. So that's one aspect of that's like personal to me. That's just, why should we consume alcohol if it's going to lead to negative outcomes? So I just wanted to emphasize that.
Yeah, and it's important for people to know that drinking alcohol not only affects you, yourself, it can affect your family, your friends around you, your relationships. So if you are going to drink, make sure you're responsible and not let it take over your life. Right?
Yes.
So yeah, I want to thank you so much, Chris, for being able to take part in this interview. And your insight is really helpful. It really will help to spread the message to be responsible. So again, thank you so much.
Well, thank you. And hopefully this helps the youth or anyone that you think.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we have our second interview with another intern here. So, hey, I want to thank you right now today. I have with me Roshanae Akbar Davis, a senior from Cal State LA with us. And I want to thank you so much for joining me for this conversation, this interview today.
No problem. Hi, Tracy. How are you?
Good, thanks. So let's just jump right in. I know you and I were having a little bit of a conversation right before this began, but I wanted to find out from you if alcohol advertising has had an influence on you. If it has, how so?
I don't necessarily, wouldn't necessarily say that alcohol advertisement had an influence. If any, I would say a negative influence, meaning that it kind of turned me away from wanting to binge drink and do these different things because of, I don't know, I just feel like it kind of portrays alcohol in an unrealistic way. And then when you're actually in that moment and you're, doing the things you see on commercials and TV, you kind of like, oh no, this is definitely not the same. So for me, I would say it kind of made me shy away from, doing as much social or binge drinking for me.
Okay, well, that's great. How do you think alcohol ads or the advertising in social media or whatnot could influence people like peers to drink, or how can it affect them negatively?
I would say because of the fact that a lot of people in this age, like in our group of, my peers, I would say that it is a negative influence because of the fact that everybody is wanting to kind of one up each other on social media. So it becomes a competitive in a negative way, a competitive, like almost like a sport to binge drink or to get as drunk as possible, which is really bad because you have to think about like people who still have to go home drinking and driving, people who are unaware of the effects that too much liquor can, cause the body, and just hangovers, all that stuff. People don't necessarily think before they act. So a lot of people are just getting drunk or drinking so much liquor that they're not even aware of their surroundings. So it can pose a lot of, dangerous effects that people don't even realize.
Yeah.
And they're looking at the glamour, of an Instagram post of someone saying, oh, I'm over by the poolside having a margarita, I'm about to get lit, all of that. And they're not even thinking about, if I have too many margaritas, what could happen? If I'm drinking and, in the pool, like, it's a lot of different things that could happen when you're too drunk or under the influence of liquor and you're not aware of just by,
It seems like they get caught up into the glamour and the image that they want to look cool on social media, a lot of that.
Exactly.
So have you ever experienced or seen others binge drink or drive under the influence?
Yes. I actually have been, to parties where people are binge drinking and then you see them get in a car and leave. And, people are not necessarily aware of how dangerous or how easily something bad can happen in a matter of minutes when when you're drunk and you're driving, or if you're in a car with somebody who's drunk and driving. Like I've seen it, and it's not a good thing. I've had friends of mine that I grew up with, childhood friends of mine that I grew up with, that actually got into the car drunk driving. I actually have two instances of this happening. One friend, she was in her 20s, late 20s, and she got in the car. She was drinking, binge drinking, got super drunk, and they were all hanging out and in a parking lot, just hanging out, just chilling. And then she got in the car and left. And nobody even said anything. Nobody did anything. I wasn't present at the time of this situation, but other friends of mine were. And basically, she got in the car drunk, and she had got into an argument with her boyfriend at the time, and he chased her in her car, in his car. He chased her all around, and she was driving. Mind you, she's under the influence, so she's not thinking clearly. She's not thinking about, I shouldn't be driving this fast. And she ended up crashing her car. Her car jumped the curb, crashed into a wall in MacArthur Park, and she passed away, unfortunately.
Wow.
And it was, it was really sad. And it affected a lot of us because, it's just really scary knowing someone. Like, it's different when you see a car crash, a drunk drive crash on the news, or you hear about it on the radio, or just someone that that knows someone else talks about it. That's a little different than you actually growing up with this person and interacting with this person all the time, and then them not being there anymore because of something that was so preventable. It could have easily been, oh no, you can't drive like that. Let me get your keys.
Right.
So it was that, and it really, it really hit home for a lot of us.
Do you have any advice for young college students entering college for the very first time?
I would say be aware of what's going on around you, and I mean that in every sense of every sense of the word, in every sense of the phrase. Meaning, whether you're old enough to drink and you're drinking, whether you're underage, and I'm totally against being underage and drinking, but if you choose to do that, just be aware of what consequences come with that, because it's like a very slippery slope. So just be aware of those things, and just try to have fun, but you just have to find your balance. Once you find your balance, you'll be okay.
That's great advice, to kind of stay grounded. Make sure that you stay grounded and stay focused is really the important thing.
Yes.
Do you have any last thoughts before we close out this interview?
No, I would say just, if you're watching this and you're underage, or if you're a college student, just try your best to, like Tracy said, stay grounded and stay true to yourself, no matter what's going on around you, because it's very easy to get sucked in. It's very easy to, just go do away with all the values that you've learned, but just stay true to yourself and you'll be okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rashane, for taking the time to interview with me. And I'm going to wish you a great day. So thanks again.
Have a good day.
Thanks. Okay, so now I'm going to introduce our guest speaker today. We do have Melissa Estelle here, Senior Program Specialist with Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Melissa's been with MAD for about 5 years, and she has some wonderful insight to share with us. So I am going to go ahead and pass it on over to Melissa. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Tracy. I appreciate that. And that was really great interviews with your students. I mean, we are pressured to drink at all stages in life, unfortunately. Adults, I mean, that doesn't stop. So it's even more important to have these conversations with our kids. But again, my name is Melissa Estelle. That is my contact information if you'd like to reach out about any of MAD's free programs and services. But just a little bit about who we are. We were founded over 40 years ago, and our name stands for Mothers Against Drunk Driving. So a lot of people, because the name was different, believe we're against the individuals, but we're just against that choice of driving under the influence, because as you've heard, it's 100% preventable, right? We can always plan ahead, designate a sober driver. We've got rideshare. So there's so many ways to get around these days. There's really no excuse. But we're not against people who drink, especially, if they're 21 and over. We just ask them to be responsible. And I know Tracy kind of mentioned advertising. What does it mean to be responsible? And we do hope that our new partnership with Uber and Anheuser-Busch can really detail out what that means. This is a new partnership for us. We haven't previously worked with the alcohol industry, but they have a large consumer base, and we want to make sure we get our message out there that if you drink, just don't drive. And of course, our mission is to end drunk driving, help fight drug driving, support victims, and prevent underage drinking. And this is all possible through passionate volunteers, staff members, those of us who've been affected or haven't, maybe, that we've heard about it. Like Rashane mentioned, sometimes this topic isn't important to us until it impacts us personally, but it's really going to take all of us here whether you know somebody who's been impacted or not, making the right choice, encouraging others to make the right choice, or stopping them from make the wrong choice, as Roshani's story illustrated, because we want to get to a future of no more victims. And that is definitely possible. We have some ways to go, unfortunately. Over 10,000 lives were lost in 2019, and this was 28% of traffic fatalities. 949 of those were in California. And this accounts for across the nation, every 2 minutes, someone being injured, and every 52 minutes, someone being killed. And if you've heard about 2020, right, not a lot of people were out on the road, but according to preliminary reports from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, alcohol-related fatalities actually rose by 9%, while the vehicle miles traveled fell by 13%. So less people driving, unfortunately, more people killed due to drunk driving. So it's so important now more than ever. I mean, who knows if restrictions are going to change? It's all been up in the air, but never a reason to drive under the influence. And so if you know someone who's been impacted, MAD does serve victims and survivors of drunk and drug driving, as well as underage drinking, and all of that is free to the community. Even if it's been some time, especially the loss of a child, we know that pain never goes away. So we have monthly support group, advocates that will go to court on your behalf, and just refer them to different resources that they may need. And just please consider that the ripple effects of these collisions are widespread and costly, right? It's not just the emotional pain of losing a loved one, but maybe survivors that deal with physical and mental pain for the rest of their lives. Friends, coworkers, schools, churches, all social groups are impacted. For me personally, the most recent one that comes to mind is the 16-year-old in Long Beach who unfortunately was killed by a suspected drunk driver just a few weeks ago. So his family, of course, is devastated, but the school, those students, right? All the people that knew him are devastated. So reach out 24/7, 877 MAD HELP. You can talk to a trained volunteer and get connected to a local office like ours here in Southern California. And we do this work, right, because of the people. It's more than just those statistics that you hear, but there are families that have been devastated. And thank you to them because they turn that pain into purpose and they allow us to share stories on their behalf. So this one is particularly impactful. We're September, right? It's fall. We're going into the holiday season. Drunk driving will increase. So as you hear this story today, just think about who you can share this message with, pass this information along so we can get that much closer to a future of no more victims. So this is a brief video put together by Joshua Jan sharing how his family was impacted by a drunk driver.
MVK ambulance, you are needed at a two-vehicle accident, Gardner and Route 47. We have a vehicle on fire. We have people ejected. They are in the roadway. There are at least 2 adults, 1 child involved as patients.
So I know that story is very heavy, but Josh is very much at peace and shares his story. He's originally from Illinois, and that's where the crash happened. He did live out here for some time and spoke at events with youth, our DUI classes for DUI offenders who thankfully haven't caused any damage like this. So we really hope to get through to them. And to you all that, we can prevent this from happening, right? It's just making the right choice because accidents happen. We can't really stop them from happening. These are crashes or collisions. It's never an accident because it is 100% preventable. So appreciate you all joining us today, sharing this story to others, especially as the holiday season comes up. And a brief thank you to the Office of Traffic Safety for providing the funding for us to do this work. And you can follow us at Mad California on Facebook and Instagram for more details about upcoming events, statistics, youth things that we have going on. And all of our programs and services are free of charge. So I do have to get going to another event. I'm going to put my information in the chat if anybody wants to reach out.
Melissa, I want to say thank you so much for coming and presenting today. It's so important for us to get the message and get the information, and you along with MAD provide such a wonderful service for us all. And again, I can't thank you enough for sharing. I know that was heavy, but it is a reality that it does happen, and it is 100% preventable. And thank you. And Melissa, I do have a resource slide with your information, so no need to put it in the chat. I've got you covered. So go on your merry way. Be careful with your drive.
Oh, yes. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy your day.
Thank you so much. Bye, Melissa. So with that, we're going to go back and Tiffany is going to go ahead and interview our third college intern, Francisco. So I will let you guys go ahead.
Thank you, Tracy, and thanks everyone. So we wanted to now transition from that segment to something still related. And so we have Francisco here, and he is one of 3 interns that we have this internship year for this fall semester. He is a senior pursuing a community health major from Cal State Dominguez Hills. And we'll leave it like that because we'll get to know Francisco more. So firstly, Francisco, thank you so much for joining in and also just being really willing to just share and also speak on this topic that's really relevant.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me here.
Absolutely. So some of the questions we were talking about, and I wanted to ask you was, what do you feel are the effects of alcohol advertising to you, with your lens at this point of your life?
Throughout my whole entire life, I've had a lot of alcohol advertising since I was young. I know a lot of people understand that advertising alcohol is sometimes just a media thing, but it could also be a family environmental thing as well. When you're surrounded by a lot of influences that portray drinking as a positive thing, it tends to feel like it's a norm in your life, because I see it in every type of social media and actually every media that I know of. Alcohol advertising is always shown in some way, like a movie, videos, advertisements, family. Yeah.
And you're touching upon like the nucleus family, the lifestyle of every different family, let alone even with the media advertisement when it comes to social media, even billboards, like it's affecting. Would you now say in ways where like the alcohol advertising led to binge drinking? In what ways do you think that the advertising led to binge drinking? Or yeah.
I feel that it has led to binge drinking because a lot of advertisements, they try to reflect on interests of people. Like it could be sports, it could be food, it could be even music, it could be movies. So they play to your interests. And as we know, alcohol does lower your ambitions and lower your motor skills. So as you're drinking, you may think, oh, it feels good, it feels relaxing. People say to use it for this reason. And they continue to drink because they're shown that, oh, you should keep drinking. It keeps you social, it keeps you relaxed. But at the same time, since it's lowering your motor skills, you're not making the proper decision at that time as well.
I want to add on when you talked about motor skills, it's very much like that liquid courage. It's almost the perception of harm that you're, losing, or you're really being handicapped by how you would normally think on a sober mind. This whole facade of like this liquid courage to ass out this person that you're having your eyes on, or that I think that's explicitly said when you think about the perception of harm, and when you're drinking and you're over drinking your limit, and I think that's where moderation is absolutely key. Thanks for bringing that up. Francisco, have you experienced or seen others binge drink or have drove under the influence?
In my experience, I actually have seen a lot of people binge drink and drove under the influence. And the thing is, a lot of people, they claim to be okay. They're like, no, I'm okay to drive, or, like I'm still focused. Like I'm not impaired in any way. And the thing about drinking alcohol, it doesn't take a lot for you to pass the alcohol like limit. Like, especially in law, like it only takes a few drinks for you to already pass the limit already. And you could be totally fine, but legally not.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's really weird. I have no idea why it happened,
And
But
pardon me.
as I do
Marlon, may
everything
you
in
mute
the
some of the participants? Thank you. And I totally agree. In the other interview, there was also an intern who said that there's the beer belly, there's the binge drinking for the social aspects. And overall, I think it's becoming very common in the campus life, but let alone just that everyone thinks it's like going into adulthood, that you have your first drink at 21, or even you have your first drink before 21.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about, what effects have you seen amongst your peers when it comes to binge drinking, yourself being a college student?
Many effects that I've seen, a lot of alcohol poisoning, because when you overdrink, your body rejects it, you start to vomit, as well as you get impaired. Like I said, you lose a lot of your motor skills, like your speech, your movement, as well as I see a lot of the time people get hostile when they drink, because they're not in the right state of mind, of course, and also weight gain. Especially now in the pandemic, I've seen a lot of my friends gain weight, and a lot of them drink. So I see a lot of weight gain right now with over drinking.
And I think when you mentioned where you've noticed like the hostility, that they wouldn't really act this way because they're not in their state of mind, that's pivotal to what this whole entire workshop is about. When we're thinking hostility, it's not just being, more aggressive, but it's property damage. It's maybe, public intoxication, and then, it may lead to consequences like thinking you can drive, you're functional to drive, because you're not there to really realize that you're slurring your words, or you're not able to distinguish walking in a straight line. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That liquid courage, it's a delusion in a way.
Yeah, liquid courage is an illusion. And it's crazy because it's kind of being thrown like, oh, if I had the courage, then I would do it. And I needed that kind of boost. But really the boost was already in you if you, if there were other ways that wasn't led to alcohol. That's right. I have some more questions, Francisco, and I find this really interesting. Every time we talk about this, has drinking negatively affected anyone you know?
Yes, it has. I've actually had some friends get in trouble with drinking and driving where they've crashed their vehicle and caused property damage, not just to their own property, but to others' property, and even hurt themselves, because when they got in the crash, of course, they had like minor injuries, but it could have been a lot worse. And then, of course, legally, they were caught under the influence, and a lot of them got DUIs, and some of them, they got very lucky that it was like their first time, and very lucky they didn't hurt anyone. Yeah.
Luck, but it's something you don't want to rely on, when
No.
with yeah, exactly. Not at all.
Yeah. But under the influence, you never know, because like I said, you're not in the right state of mind, and all your body functions are not working functionally.
Right. And additionally with DUI, this is on your permanent record. This is, we don't want to sound like we're parents or we're lecturing, but the fact of the matter is that this single decision may include consequences that can make the likelihood of getting a job or applying for different positions to elevate your lives. These are all at stake. And I think this emphasis, especially going into the holiday season, of course, it's filled with love, it's filled with laughter, lots of family gatherings, celebrating of life, celebrating of new milestones. But, there's always that side of being responsible, being also a peer positive influence in your family. And I think that's something you summed up as well, too. Now, I want to go back to the advertising because I find this really interesting. When it comes to alcohol advertising, I think you might have mentioned this, but how has alcohol advertising influenced you, and how so?
Well, like I said, it's influenced me in a lot of ways, because as growing up, it kind of taught me that alcohol is okay to do, but as you grow up, you start to know that alcohol has certain effects on you that could cause consequences, and it's been advertised in many different ways. But like as a youth, and with many advertisements, it's always advertised that it's a good thing to do, it's a social thing to do, it's the friendly thing to do. But as you learn more, there's other types of advertisements that show that that's not always the case. So it just all depends on what advertisements you're looking at. But I do know many advertisements and a lot of platforms show it as a positive thing, but there is also cases where they show that it's not the best thing either.
Right. Right. And we mentioned holiday season, but for example, even past holiday season or the holiday months, it's Super Bowl, it's New Year's, it's stereotypically it's like the Cinco de Mayo and even St. Patrick's Day. It's kind of like this, okay, this is a reason to drink just because it's this holiday, this unannounced holiday that really calls in for alcohol or calls in for this fun with alcohol. Francisco, I want to ask you, when someone says, oh, it's always fun with alcohol, how would you respond to that? Like it's always fun because of alcohol.
I would say that they're wrong, because you don't always need alcohol to have fun. And there's many other fun things to do besides drinking, because in my opinion, I don't think it's fun to get completely impaired and possibly cause a lot of consequences that can not only harm you, but also harm others. So if anyone was to give me that response, I would say it's false. Personally for me, because you don't need to drink, and you don't need to drink excessive either to have a good time. No.
Yeah. What advice, and this might lead into our question, what advice do you have for the college students, the college population that relates to drinking?
The advice I would give my fellow college students is that if you are going to drink responsibly, drink in moderation. If you're going to drink, after your drink something a little more healthier like water. if you're planning to travel to drink somewhere, there's a lot of sources to get to places. There's Lyft, there's Uber, there's taxis. Find someone that's going to be a safe driver and be the I forgot the word for it, but pretty much,
Designated driver.
yeah, be
DD.
the designated driver. Pretty much make a plan. Like, don't go in there thinking, oh, I'm just gonna wing it. No, because especially with alcohol, you never know how it's gonna affect you, and always have a plan. And also too, always eat. And like I said, if you don't have to drink, find an alternative to drinking, because there's a lot of delicious beverages out there that doesn't have to have alcohol.
Right.
That's what I would suggest.
Thank you, Francisco. You and I both mentioned the word moderation. What does drinking in moderation mean to you?
Have one drink and be okay with it. You don't need to drink so much, because the alcohol is going to do what it's going to do, and you don't need to over excessively drink so much, because why do you want to be impaired? But then that just goes back to the person, and depending on them as well, and their behavior and emotions as well. But moderation, have one drink, don't overdo it. Don't go over the limit, and be responsible.
Well said. Beautiful, well said. And I appreciate you being here and just sharing your story, your experiences. The stories are what makes learning really exciting and very worthwhile. And some of the things you said was be responsible. You don't have to have alcohol to have fun. There are many other ways to have fun that doesn't include alcohol. And I think one thing you also mentioned that was a good reminder for all of us and everyone that we work with when we're working with the youth, the young adults, as they transition to young adults and even parents, is that there's a responsibility factor and there's that peer factor to be a positive influence and to drink in moderation. Yeah. Any last comments that you have beyond the influence?
The only comment I could give is, if in any way, if you're going to drink or not, just be responsible in your decisions, because that's the best way. Because if you don't take responsibility, then you're not already thinking straight and you're sober. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Francisco. I thought that was really well said. So Francisco is continuing his internship with us. So we have the privilege to work with him, and he's going to be working among substance abuse, alcohol, tobacco, prescription drugs, and many more during his internship. So all the more, we hope to see you more on Hot Topic Tuesday, let alone the prevention work that you're going to be doing and learning throughout your internship.
Cool. And thank you guys for having me again. This was a great experience. I had a lot of good time, just thinking about the topic. So it was really fun. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Francisco. And with that, I'll pass it over to Tracy.
Yes, thank you so much, Tiffany and Francisco, for engaging in that conversation there. I want to open it up now to the audience if you have any questions. Unfortunately, Melissa did have to leave. So if we have any questions for her, we can jot them down, and I have her contact information and we can get to her if you have questions related to MAD or anything like that. But I'm sure Francisco is here, our live speaker, and he may be able to answer questions if you have any. So we'll give it just a few moments. If anyone has any questions, go ahead.
And Francisco, one more thing. So in our audience, these are audience who also work in our field as well. So you're welcome to also ask us questions since it's a lot more of a more intimate group.
Carol, you have your hand raised. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yes, hello. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to ask Francisco a question, and I'd like his honest answer as a young adult. Of course, Francisco, being a young adult at this point in time, you have a lot of influences which can be negative. influences, what I mean by influences would be not only alcohol, but also vapes and other drugs like marijuana, cocaine, meth, you know. So how does alcohol, I mean, within the realm of negative influences, I mean, how would you, like, let's say, rate alcohol? I mean, in terms of, you know, of comparing the negativity of its influence on young adult. Just curious. It's a curious question. Yeah.
No, it's a really great question. But I would rate alcohol to be a very dangerous substance because compared to a lot of other substances, it has many effects that I find very concerning, especially like with impairment as well as like memory loss. When people overdrink, they black out. And the thing is, with other substances that I've looked into before, a lot of them, they have effects, but they have effects where they get people on a different type of level, whereas alcohol, just the memory loss and the blacking out alone is a concern because you're not aware of what you're doing. While other substances, they just kind of change your demeanor, but you're still aware. But with alcohol, there's times and moments where you're not aware of what you're doing, and then you're not aware of the consequences that you're about to make. And so I would rate it as a very dangerous substance because it could impair you in ways that other drugs, in my understanding, can't impair you. You know, they're not obviously good for you, but you know, they won't cause you to, like I said, blacking out is a very bad thing because you don't know what you're doing, and God forbid you get in a vehicle under that influence and in that state of mind. And like, yeah, it's a concerning substance in my book. I think it is. That's why it's best just to safely drink in moderation if you're going to drink. And if not, if you can, find another solution. Like I said, there's other beverages that are way better than alcohol.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Great question.
And that's an honest answer. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, with that, I think we're going to go ahead and close our question session right now. And let me bring our slides back up so I can share the resources that we have here. So give me just a moment. Again, Melissa's contact information, if you want to take a screenshot of her information. There are a lot of free services, as she had mentioned, that MAD provides. So if you want that information. Also, we have, with community prevention, a lot of community organizers. My information is at the top here, Richard Biss with Carson. We also have Tiffany, who's here with us today from El Segundo. That's her contact information. Marlon in Inglewood, also Jessica in Gardena as well. Carol, who you just heard from with the tobacco program. Jeannie is our program coordinator. You can also find us on various Facebook platforms within our different groups that we run. And you can also find us on Instagram. Those are our handles there. So if you want to go ahead and take a picture of this slide as well, you can. And you could get in contact with any of us. We could do presentations as well for you. With that, I'm going to move on to our next. Coming up, AADAP, this is kind of a shameless plug for our fundraiser, our yearly fundraiser Showtime. We are going to be celebrating AADAP's 49th anniversary, and this is the biggest fundraiser of the year for our agency. All of the monies raised will go to the various programs that we have, our outpatient programs, our residential programs, our job employment access programs, all of the programs. And there is a QR code here if you want to go ahead and register for the event. It is a hybrid event. We will be celebrating our CEO's retirement And there will be a concert, ukulele artist, Daniel Ho, who is well-known ukulele artist, and that part will be virtual. And we will also have an auction where you can bid on different items. So with that, we want to thank you all again for coming and joining us with our Hot Topic Tuesday. Thank you, Francisco, for being here and for sharing your insights. And with that, have a great evening, everybody, and take care.